Today, we are not talking about movies. We are not talking about camera angles. We are not talking about directors. We are not talking about choreography. There are no rehearsals here. There are no second takes. There is no background music telling you who is winning. This is Tony Jaa versus Scott Adkins, judged only by real-world combat ability. No choreography, no movie physics, just reality. When people argue about this matchup, they usually make one big mistake. They judge both men the same way. But Tony Jaa and Scott Adkins come from very different combat worlds. To understand how this fight truly plays out, we must slow everything down and look carefully at who these men really are. Not the characters they play, not the highlights you remember, but the fighters behind the screen. Let us start with Tony Jaa. Tony Jaa was not built in a gym. He was shaped by tradition. He grew up in rural Thailand, where martial arts were not entertainment, they were survival. Tony Jaa trained in Muay Boran, not modern sport Muay Thai, Muay Boran. Muay Boran is older, harsher, and less forgiving. It was designed for war, for self-defense, for breaking another human being as quickly as possible. There are no gloves in Muay Boran. There are no weight classes. There is no referee stepping in to save you. Tony Jaa's body was conditioned from a very young age. Shins hardened by years of kicking solid objects, elbows trained as cutting weapons, knees trained to smash ribs, hips, and thighs. Pain was not avoided. Pain was accepted. This is important to understand. Tony Jaa does not fight to score points. He fights to damage structure, balance, posture, breathing. That is his mindset. Now let us talk about Scott Adkins. Scott Adkins grew up in a very different environment. He is not a traditional village fighter. He is a modern martial artist. Scott Adkins trained in multiple systems. Taekwondo gave him speed, flexibility, and long-range kicking. Kickboxing gave him timing and combinations. Judo gave him throws and balance understanding. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gave him ground control and submissions. Scott Adkins is a student of systems. He studies how styles connect. He understands distance. He understands angles. He understands how to stay safe while doing damage. Scott Adkins fights intelligently. He is taller than Tony Jaa. He is heavier. He has longer reach. These things matter in real combat, but they are not everything. To understand who wins this fight, we must break it down piece by piece, range by range, moment by moment. First, we talk about long range. At long range, Scott Adkins is in his comfort zone. His kicks travel farther. His footwork allows him to step in and out. He can attack without fully committing. Tony Jaa at long range is less dangerous, not because he lacks skill, but because his style is not built for dancing at distance. Tony Jaa wants contact. He wants pressure. He wants closeness. At long range, Scott Adkins can score damage while avoiding the clinch. This is where Scott is most safe. But fights do not stay at long range forever. Distance collapses, and when it does, the fight changes. At mid-range, things become unstable. This is where Tony Jaa begins to enter. Low kicks start to land, body kicks become possible, knees begin to threaten. Scott Adkins still has tools here: counters, movement, timing. But now, mistakes become expensive. One mistimed kick, one slip, one step too slow, and Tony Jaa is close enough to grab. And once Tony Jaa grabs, everything changes. The clinch is Tony Jaa's world. This is where Muay Boran becomes dangerous. Tony Jaa controls the neck. He controls posture. He controls balance. Elbows do not need space. Knees do not need momentum. In the clinch, power comes from structure, not speed. This is where ribs crack. This is where breathing disappears. This is where fighters panic. Scott Adkins does not want to stay here. His goal is not to trade elbows.
His goal is not to absorb knees. His goal is to escape, or to take the fight to the ground. If Scott Adkins manages to bring Tony Jaa down, the balance shifts again. On the ground, Tony Jaa loses some of his natural advantage. Scott Adkins understands positional control. He understands leverage. He understands submissions. On the ground, damage becomes slower, but control becomes dominant. This is where Scott can breathe. This is where he can think. So now we see the real truth of this matchup. This fight is not about who is stronger. It is not about who looks tougher. It is about who controls the environment. Tony Jaa wants chaos at close range. Scott Adkins wants structure and space. Tony Jaa wants pain and pressure. Scott Adkins wants control and patience. Both men are conditioned. Both men are disciplined, but their weapons work best in different places. This fight would not look cinematic. It would be tense. It would be rough. It would be uncomfortable to watch. There would be moments of silence, moments of sudden violence, and the winner would not be decided by flash, but by decision-making under pressure. And this is only the beginning. Because next, we must talk about conditioning, mental toughness, reaction under injury, and what happens when the fight does not go according to plan. And that's where the real truth of this matchup is revealed.